is the demo for the Necromancer's Tale. Let's check it out. Okay, your character's backstory, early career and skills are chosen through an interactive fiction. Okay, this demo offers an abbreviated version of the interactive fiction, followed by Homecoming and the Spellbook, which deals with the events and intrigue after you arrive home for your father's funeral and begin to investigate an ancient spellbook which has come into your possession. Okay.
In the year of our Lord, 1701, the Republic of Venice went to war with the sovereign monarchy of Ralston. This war was over passage rights through the Adriatic Sea, though this point will rarely be brought up when the war is discussed by future historians. It was, like most wars, overstretched and too costly. Neither side could afford it, nor would they back down. Many lives were lost, and whatever the outcome, each nation would nurse its wounds for some time. The war raged on for 6 years, draining both countries' resources, but the Republic of Venice was older than Ralston and had deeper pockets. In a war of attrition, they would win, and both sides knew it. 3 generals from Ralston, 2 brothers and a close friend, came together to strategize, and came up with nothing. They would not win this war. In desperation, one reached out to a dark power and was told to make pilgrimage to Golgotha. With no other avenue, they spent 1 month sailing to the walls of Jerusalem, where they docked under cover of darkness. On the hill where the man named Jesus died, they met a figure, too old to identify as man or woman. It offered them a book, an already ancient thing made of pale leathers and filled with symbols that hurt their eyes to look upon. The thing smiled as they took it, a smile made of too many teeth. Full of dread for what they had seen and what they were about to do, they sailed for another month to get home. Things had gone badly in the time they were away. Soon they would have to surrender, and Ralston would fall into decline, one it was unlikely to survive. Whatever doubt the men had about using the knowledge in that book, their mind was set now. They cast its pages open and chanted dark incantations. And lo, did the dead walk upon the earth that night. Undead sailors hauled themselves into the Venetian boats. Soldiers dragged themselves from battlefields and clawed up from shallow graves to drive the Venetians from the land. The war was won. The Venetians could not fight Ralston's impossible numbers. They surrendered, the book was shut, and the dead were dead once more. The book was destroyed, but the world had noticed. Ralston had dark magic, and no shame in using it. Many enemies, without and within, were born that day. 1711. 3 years later, a child was born to one of the generals involved in unleashing the spell. A beautiful baby girl.
You were named Sandy.
A comet passed overhead that night, one that cycled between purple and green. Few saw it, but those that did walked away from their lives to explore more of the world before them.
Okay, content abbreviated for demo.
You were born into wealth and status and had all you could wish for. But your parents never had another child, and your father was often preoccupied with his work. Your mother, distant, sickly and delirious, you heard another mother say. Hoffman, the family steward, raised you more than they. It was a lonely childhood. 1718. You are 8 years old. You play with friends from school, 2 poorer boys, Diedrich and Flip. Your father disapproves. You play in the graveyard outside the city. Nobody goes there without an armed guard. But children do not care for such things. Children are small and fast and can outrun ghoul, at least when the sun is up. One day, as you play, you hear a rustling coming from some trees. You all freeze. Then a stone whizzes out of the green and hits you on the head. You stare in disbelief, a slow trickle of blood running down your face, partially blocking sight from your left eye. A group of other children from the city emerge from the tree line. You recognize their leader, a boy named Willard. "You shouldn't be here," he calls out. "It's against the rules." He punches the palm of his hand. "This is for your own good."
Okay. I like the idea of this one.
Pick up a stick and stand your ground. "You don't tell me what to do." There were more of them, and they swarmed you. But you broke Willard's nose in the midst of it all, which you felt satisfied with. You weren't sure if it was the broken nose or that they got whatever anger they had towards you out of their system, but they left you alone after that. That night you are woken by voices outside your window. You look out. You can see the graveyard, though you know it's normally on the other side of the house and too far away to see. In it, 2 people dig up a grave. Despite the distance and lack of light, you can make out the name on the tombstone. Your father's. One of the people stops. Then, and without moving their body in any way, they turn their head to look at you. You do not recognize them. They grin an unearthly grin at you, so eerie that it wakes you from your sleep. By morning, you have forgotten it all. Years later, you catch sight of yourself in a mirror, and the memory of this dream comes back to you as you suddenly realize that the face staring at you had been your own. The one you have now as an adult. 1721. One morning, your mother comes to your school. She takes you out, even though classes are not finished. She says everything is okay, but you do not believe her.
It's her appearance that gives
It's her
her
appearance that gives her away. She is normally so perfect, but her hair is out of place, her dress loose, her makeup faded. She brings you around the town. First you stop to buy sugared apples. Then she takes you shopping. New clothes, new books, new toys, a luggage trunk. She brings you to the castle and, with some whispered words and coins exchanged, the guard lets you into the grounds. You go to the pond and throw bread and watch fish pop their heads up to steal from the ducks. You walk the city walls and the 2 of you take in the view. The sea to the west, the hills to the south, the forest to the east and north, and beyond the northern tree line, the road that leads to the capital. "That," she tells you through teary eyes, "is where you're going. You won't understand until you're older. Maybe not even then. You need more than I can give you, more than I can be. You protest. She cries. When she stops crying, she doesn't remember where you are, how you got there. A watchman brings you home. There your father glares at you, angry that you upset your mother, angry at your non-compliance. Hoffman brings you to your room to help you put your new clothes and books and toys into your new trunk. He tells you that she loves you, that this is for the best.
Can I just say I love this narrator's voice, and that I need him to read me audiobooks until I fall asleep every night.
A few days later, your carriage rides out of town. In your children's stories, events like this happen on rainy days, but today is sunny and clear-skied. As the carriage crests a hill, you can look back towards the city and see it all. The farms, the walls, the groves, the castle, the seas. Your home. How do you feel as you are taken away?
Let's go with that one.
I hurt. A deep wound of betrayal. My parents are supposed to look after me, not discard me. 1722. A year has passed. More quickly than you might have expected. Winter's first snow falls lightly outside. You watch from your dorm and reflect on your time here. You are thankful for the library here. Books have been your salvation. You look at the collection of books scattered around you now. Buried under them are the books your mother bought you over a year ago. You have read them many times. You miss her. 1725. Your schooling is done now. Your time here is over. You spent much of this year deciding what to do next.
Let's go with that one.
One of your professors said she saw something in you. A spark that would see you well in the world of courtly intrigue. This sounds exciting to you, and well paid too, so they put you in touch with a contact of theirs to begin your training.
Okay, content abbreviated for this.
1727. You are nearly 2 years into your training now, and it goes largely as expected. You miss home, but the pangs grow less as time passes. Your mentor, an older lady named Valentina Zupan, takes you to the Scottish courts to watch the burning of a witch. The woman is accused of fornication with the devil, but Valentina says that the only crime this woman, and women burned like her, committed was striving for knowledge, studying the natural world and trying to understand it. Valentina wants you to see how other countries treat people who they cannot understand, how they treat knowledge they cannot fathom. She tells you then that a war has broken out at home. A lich, a powerful undead sorcerer, has begun raising the dead and marches on the capital. So far its armies show no sign of moving out of Ralston, but Venetian and Habsburg forces are amassing on their respective borders to repel anything that tries to cross them. Other nations will turn this on us. They will try to turn the Pope on us too, no doubt. They'd see us burned like that witch. This is our job, to slow the tide that comes for us. We shall travel to other courts, seeking help. We will get none. In reality, we're there to find the lips that whisper against us and do what we must to shut them, by deals or blackmail, whatever it takes. You were on a carriage to London that night, on the start of a tour of Europe that would carry on for the next year. Eventually, word reaches you that the Lich has been defeated. that its forces collapsed as the final blow was struck. Your father was at that battle, as was your uncle. You learn your uncle was wounded, but is well. Neither man died, though the same cannot be said for thousands of others in the country. The soldier's work is done now. Our work only gets harder. Venice will want to march in retaliation for 1708. Habsburg will want the land. Several others will want us stomped out for being too liberal. We must keep these wolves at bay while our country rebuilds. 1729. Your training complete. You land your first post.
Okay,
Your first assignment was in the Ottoman courts of Ahmed III in Albania. The sun shone upon you and the wind was at your back as you were sailed down the Adriatic Sea to the port of Duris. There, a member in the court of Governor Kuprulu Abdullah Pasha greeted you. Her name was Kuprulu Yenikumru, and you learned she was a cousin of the governor. You were told the governor had been unfortunately dragged away on business as you neared, though you expected he didn't deem you important enough to meet. Staged and stilted pleasantries were exchanged before you and your entourage were led through the streets to a grand house that looked to be a series of cubes stacked together. It was very different to anything you had seen prior. Inside, in a grand room that almost defied logic as to how it fitted in the building, her entourage sat, gathered across from yours, of which you sat at the front, and by some distance. You could feel all eyes on you as a tray was laid out before you with 2 cups, one of water and the other of coffee, as she looked at you expectantly. You had not been told anything about this custom. You choose to drink the coffee. On seeing you drink it, she nodded, and her staff scrambled into action. Soon, male dancers called kuchik staged impressive vaults, while performers known as kambas juggled and executed visual tricks that, to this day, you haven't been able to see through. Music played, at first fast and frantic for the male performers, and then it flawlessly changed into fast but controlled tune for the female dancers, the chengi, who came and gyrated for your entertainment. Their shimmering outfits flicked and fluttered to the tempo like birds mating. No food was served, but none among your group went to bed alone that night. 1733. When you learned of your father's death, you were on a date. The main course had just been served when a courier came to you and delivered the letter. It had your family seal on it. You knew it was important. You excused yourself for a moment. You never returned to dinner. You did not go on a second date.
Content abbreviated for demo.
Now, days later, your carriage crests the hills towards Marnes, the sun blasting off the red and yellow bricks and rippling off the blue sea beyond. You are almost home.
Home to bury a man I never really knew, and now never would.
Home to bury a man I never really knew, and now never would.
I can adjust my stuff, but I think I'm going to go with what I was assigned based on my choices, so we're going to go with that. Okay. 1 hour from the north gate of Marnes, my coach had been climbing a steep hill, surrounded on all sides by oaks before the great forest gave way to farmlands. And there, We saw a young woman accosted by 2 brigands. My coachman called me.
Should we stop, madam?
Yes, at once. Our coach pulled to a stop. You men, what are you doing? Has Mans fallen so far since I've been away that 2 of you should accost a lady so near to the city gates? The ruffians turned their spears towards me.
Be on your way, stranger.
I attempted to bargain with them. Okay, skill check, analyze level 2. Okay, this means I need 2 levels of analyze to pass it. If my skill is less than 2, then I can spend points from my skill pool to make up the balance. Okay. Please reconsider your actions. This is just a peaceful young woman. The 2 men turned their spears towards me and my coachman leapt down with his sword drawn. Okay. Okay, so that's that. Gotcha. Okay, I cannot merely attack at that distance. The men turned and fled. The fight was not going their way. We let them go.
Thank you for helping me. I know you. You are the daughter of Zelig.
She shrugged, smiled sweetly, and straightened the garland in her hair. I nodded. She seemed about my age, but I did not recall her face from the past. Who were those men? Surely Mans has not become so lawless.
The protection of the city is not there for all of us. And outside its walls, there are many men such as these.
This much of a words are true. In recent times, I never travel beyond the city without a weapon.
Who are you?
Just a girl from the village yonder.
She looked slyly at me and waved her arm vaguely to the north, back down the hill the way we had
I
come.
was collecting herbs when they waylaid me.
My coachman eyed her suspiciously but said nothing. Were you not afraid? Your life seemed in danger.
It was not. Those men are fools.
The coachman scowled at her. Perhaps you would care to visit me at my mansion when I am settled in. Then perhaps I might learn your name, sweet maiden. She looked amused for a moment before answering.
Perhaps indeed.
Be safe then. I must be away, for my father's funeral awaits.
I am sorry. It is a sad day, and Lord Zelig was a good man.
I climbed back into my coach and glanced out to wave farewell. But in the place of the young woman stood an old hag, watching me. The shadow seemed to draw in around her, leaving her face indistinct.
Be wary. Viserek dead the wolves are circling. The House of Van Eerstrik may have an important part in the future of the kingdom. Do not presume to know who your friends and enemies are.
Whoa there.
The carriage came to a sudden stop which jolted me awake. I had thought that on my return home after so many years that I would watch it all, rising up over the hill to see Mans, entering the gates, the ride to my family home. But I had been travelling for 3 days now, and I had clearly been too tired to stay awake, despite my strange encounter in the northern forest. Still, I was home. Perhaps it was unkind of me, but when I stepped out, I was surprised to be greeted by Hoffman. I expected him to be long retired by now. Despite his age, he stood tall as he greeted me.
Welcome home, my lady. I trust your journey was a pleasant one.
As best as one could expect, given the circumstances. The old man said nothing, and there was no expression on his face. He just nodded slightly, as indecipherable as I recalled. Nothing about this exchange gave away how close he had been to my father, raising him after my grandfather's death, tutoring him, following him to war, even minding my mother in recent years. If he was hurting from the death, and I knew he was, he hid it well. I must have been staring for too long because he cut the silence.
If Madam wishes to go inside, I shall follow along with the luggage.
I nodded, and I left him be. Ooh, kitty! A black and white cat sat here watching me suspiciously. I reached out a hand. The beast hissed and ran around the house. Oh, kitty! No, kitty! Kitty! Where'd the kitty go? I wanted to pat the kitty. Ooh, there's a thing. Our boat hadn't been tended to in an age. I wondered if it was still seaworthy. I had fond memories of jumping into the sea from here with my friends Diedrich and Flip. Long hot summers, a lifetime ago. The rider looked down at me, a grizzled and unkind
I'll be
face.
on my way once I get my coin.
But what of that strange encounter we had outside the city?
I don't ask questions, and neither should you.
Okay, I guess we'll go inside then. It was just as I remembered. Less cavernous, perhaps, but still an impressive room with a grand staircase, leading up to bedrooms and private offices. There was no sign of any of our servants, however, and there, beside the fire, my mother slumbered. A crate of my father's most precious wine. Why was this sitting in the entrance hall? Why were these paintings off the wall? Albright would know. Okay. My possessions, such as they were, some changes of clothes, some books, nothing of real value. Where was the rest of this armour? I needed to ask Albright. A set of condolence cards was displayed on the table. I opened the card from my uncle, Baron Gervais. Juliana, I still can't believe he is gone. With the pomp over, I will be taking some time to mourn him. If you need anything while I am gone, ask Lucius. I am sorry that I need to retreat away when you need me most. I failed him, and now I fail you. Sorry, Gervais. I read a card from the guard captain, Willard Werner. Madame Van Elstrick, your husband was, and will continue to be, a great inspiration to me and my soldiers. We will endeavour to keep Mans and all of Ralston as safe as he did. Know that takes a legion to replace him. Guard Captain Willard Werner. I checked the offering from a man named Lord Richard Carnell. Van Elstrix, I am saddened by your loss, Lord Richard Carnell. Read the card from my cousin, Lucius Van Elstrick. Dearest aunts, I am inconsolable by the loss of Uncle Zelig. If you need anything at this time, please, anything, I can do, just ask, Lucius. I spotted a card from the Queen of Ralston, Ulka III. To House Van Elstick, I am deeply saddened by the loss of one of Ralston's finest sons. His effort and service to his country these past 30 plus years have kept this great nation safe and prosperous through admittedly difficult times. It is truly hard to say that we would stand so tall. Were it not for his sacrifices. Know that I shall hold a vigil for him on the day of his funeral, and that the royal household shall be fasting in his honour and memory. Ulka K. There was one from my friend Diedrich and his grandmother Sybil. Madame Van Elstrick, We don't have the words to convey our sympathies. If there's anything you need, you have but to ask. Diedrich and Sybil Bostrom. A second card from Diedrich was addressed to me alone. Sandy, I'm so sorry. I admired your father. Always wish you'd been my dad. Let's drink to his memory when you get back, yeah? Diedrich. One of the cards was enigmatically signed S. Death comes for us all in the end, but how do we greet him? Cowering? Angry? Badering like a statesman, perhaps? Or with open arms, like a friend? There was one from the local priest, Father Oliveworth. Dear Van Elstrix, I'm wounded by the news of the loss. Such a loss to you, us in the city, and the entire nation. I'll set in motion plans for such a grand funeral to ferry him off to our Lord God and his heavenly angels. A saint of a man. My heart weeps for you, Father Oliver. Pushed to the back was a card from my friend Sophia. Sandy, sorry to hear about your father. Still, maybe you can come home now, eh? Sophia. I stepped away from the table. It was sleeping peacefully. What about the other cat? Oh, it's firewood. Gulliver's Travellers. Date 1726. Author Jonathan Swift. My father had a small estate in Nottinghamshire. I was the third of 5 sons. He sent me to Emmanuel College in Cambridge at 14 years old, where I resided 3 years, and applied myself close to my studies. But the charge of maintaining me, although I had very scantly allowance, being too great for a narrow fortune, I was bound apprentice to Mr. James Bates, an eminent surgeon in London, with whom I continued 4 years, and my father now and then sending me small sums of money. I laid them out in learning navigation and other parts of the mathematics useful to those who intend to travel, as I always believed it would be some time or other my fortune to do. When I left Mr. Bates, I went down to my father, where, by the assistance of him and my Uncle John, and some other relations, I got £40 and a promise of £30 a year to maintain me at Leyden. There, I studied physics 2 years and 7 months, knowing it would be useful in long voyages. Soon after my return from Leyden, I was recommended by my good master, Mr. Bates, to be surgeon to the Swallow, with whom I continued 3 years and a half, making a voyage of 2 into the Levant and some other parts. When I came back, I resolved to settle in London, to which Mr. Bates, my master, encouraged me, and by him I was recommended to several patients. I took part of a small house in the Old Jewry, and being advised to alter my condition, I married Mrs. Mary Burton, second daughter to Mr. Edmund Burton, hosier, in Newgate Street, for whom I received £400 for a portion. But my good master Bates dying in 2 years after, and I having few friends, my business began to fail. For my conscience would not suffer me to imitate the bad practice of too many among my brethren. Having therefore consulted with my wife and some of my acquaintance, I determined to go again to sea. I was surgeon successfully in 2 ships, and made several voyages for 6 years to the East and West Indies, by which I got some addition to my fortune. My hours of leisure I spent in reading the best authors, ancient and modern, being always provided with a good number of books, and when I was ashore, in observing the manners and dispositions of the people, as well as learning their language, wherein I had a great facility by the time of my memory. The last of these voyages not proving very fortunate, I grew weary of the sea, and intended to stay home with my wife and family. I removed from the Old Jewry to Fetter Lane, and from thence to Wapping, hoping to get business among the sailors, but it would not turn to accounts. After 3 years, expectation that things would mend, I accepted an advantageous offer from Captain William Pritchard, master of the Antelope, who was making a voyage to the South Sea. We sailed from Bristol, May 4th, 1699, and our voyage at first was very prosperous. Robinson Crusoe, 1719, author Daniel Defoe. I was born in the year 1632 in the city of York, of a good family, though not of that country, my father being a foreigner of Bremen, who settled first at Hull. He got a good estate by merchandise, and leaving off his trade, lived afterwards at York, from whence he had married my mother, whose relations were named Robinson, a very good family in that country, and from whom I was called Robinson Crusoe. But, by the usual corruption of words in England, we are now called, nay, we call ourselves and write our name Crusoe. And so my companions always called me. I had 2 elder brothers, one of whom was Lieutenant Colonel to an English regiment of foot in Flanders, formerly commanded by the famous Colonel Lockhart, and was killed at the battle near Dunkirk against the Spaniards. What became of my second brother I never knew, any more than my father or mother knew what became of me. Being the third son of the family and not bred to any trade, my head began to be filled very early with rambling thoughts. My father, who was very ancient, had given me a competent share of learning as far as house education and a country free school generally go, and designed me for the law. But I would be satisfied. But I would be satisfied with nothing but going to sea, and my inclination to this led me so strongly against the will, nay, the commands of my father, and against all the entreaties and persuasions of my mother and other friends, that there seemed to be something fatal in that propensity of nature, tending directly to the life of misery which was to befall me. My father, a wise and grave man, gave me serious and excellent counsel against what he foresaw was my design. He called me one morning into his chamber, where he was confined by the gout, and expostulated very warmly with me upon this subject. He asked me what reasons, more than a mere wandering inclination, I had for leaving father's house and my native country, where I might be well introduced, and had a prospect for raising my fortune by application and industry, with a life of ease and pleasure. He told me it was men of desperate fortunes on one hand, or of aspiring superior fortunes on the other, who went abroad upon adventures to rise by enterprise and make themselves famous in undertakings of a nature out of the common road. That these things were all either too far above me or too far below me. That mine was the middle state, or what might be called upon the upper station of low life, which he had found, by long experience, was the best state in the world, the most suited to human happiness, not exposed to the miseries and hardships, the labour and sufferings of the mechanic part of mankind, and not embarrassed with the pride, luxury, ambition, and envy of the upper part of mankind. He told me I might judge of the happiness of this state by one thing, viz., that this was the state of life which all other people envied, that kings have frequently lamented the miserable conscious of being born to great things, and wished they had been placed in the middle of the two extremes, between the mean and the great, that the wise man gave his testimony to this as the standard of felicity, when he prayed to have neither poverty nor riches. He bade me observe it, and I should find that the calamities of life were shared among the upper and lower part of mankind, but that the middle station had the fewest disasters and was not exposed to so many vicissitudes as the higher or lower part of mankind. Nay, they were not subjected to so many distempers and uneasiness, either of body or mind, as those were who, by vicious living, luxury, and extravagances on the one hand, or by hard labour, want of necessaries, and mean or insufficient diet on the other hand, bring distemper upon themselves by the natural consequences of their way of living. That the middle station of life was calculated for all kind of virtue and all kind of enjoyments, that peace and plenty were the handmaids of a middle fortune, that temperance, moderation, quietness, health, society, all agreeable diversions, and all desirable pleasures were the blessings attending the middle station of life, that this way men went silently and smoothly through the world, and comfortably out of it, not embarrassed with the labours of the hands or of the head, not sold to a life of slavery for daily bread, nor harassed with perplexed circumstances, which robbed the soul of peace and the body of rest, nor enraged with the passion of envy, or the secret burning lust of ambition for great things, but in easy circumstances, sliding gently through the world, and sensibly tasting the sweets of living, without the bitter feeling that they are happy, and learning by every day's experience to know it more sensibly. Love in Excess, or The Fatal Inquiry, date 1720. Author Eliza Hayward. In the late war between the French and Confederate armies, there were two brothers who had acquired a more than ordinary reputation under the command of the great and intrepid Luxembourg. But the conclusion of the peace, taking away any further occasions of shewing their valour, the eldest of them, whose name was Count Delmont, returned to Paris, from whence he had been absent 2 years, leaving his brother at St. Omer's, till the cure of some slight wounds were perfected. The fame of the Count's brave actions arrived before him, and he had the satisfaction of being received by the King in court, after a manner that might gratify the ambition of the prince. The beauty of his person, the gaiety of his air, and the unequalled charms of his conversation made him the admiral of both sexes, and whilst those of his own strove which should gain their longest share in his friendship, the other vented fruitless wishes, and in secret cursed that custom which forbids women to make a declaration of their thoughts. Amongst the number of these was Alavisa, a lady ascended, by the father's side, from the noble family of de la Tours, formerly Lord of Bouget, and by her mother's from the equally illustrious house of Montmorency. The late death of her parents had left her co-heiress with her sister of a vast estate. Alavisa, if her passion was not greater than the rest, her pride and the good opinion she had of herself made her the less able to support it. She sighed, she burned, she ragged, when she perceived the charming Delmont behaved himself towards her with no mark of a distinguished affection. What, said she, have I beheld without concern 1,000 lovers at my feet, and shall the only man I ever endeavoured, or wished to charm, regard me with such indifference? Wherefore has the agreeing world joined with my deceitful glass to flatter me into a vain belief I had not invincible attractions? Delmont sees him not. Delmont is insensible. Then would she fall into ravings, sometimes cursing her own want of power, sometimes the coldness of Delmont. Many days she passed in these inquietudes, and every time she saw him, which was very frequently, either at court, at church, or public meetings, she found fresh matter for her troubled thoughts to work upon. When on any occasion he happened to speak to her, it was with that softness in his eyes and that engaging tenderness in his voice, as would half persuade her that God hadn't touched his heart, which so powerfully had influenced hers. But if a glimmering of such hope gave her a pleasure inconceivable, how great were the ensuing torments when she observed those looks and accents were but the effects of his natural complacence, and that to whomever he addressed it, he carried an equality in his behaviour, which sufficiently evinced his hour was not yet come to feel those pains he gave. And if the afflicted fair ones found any consolation, it was in the reflection that no triumphant rival could boast a conquest, each now despaired of gaining. But the impatient Alavisa, disdaining to be ranked with those whom her vanity made her consider as infinitely her inferiors, suffered herself to be agitated almost to madness between the two extremes of love and indignation. 1,000 chimeras came into her head, and sometimes prompted her to discover the sentiments she had in his favour. But these resolutions were rejected almost as soon as formed, and she could not fix on any for a long time, till at last love, ingenious in invention, inspired her with one which probably might let her into the secrets of his heart, without the shame of revealing her own. The celebration of Madame the Duchess of Burgundy's birthday being solemnized with great magnificence, she writ this billet to him on the night before. I sat at the piano and played, alone, as I had played so many times as a child. After a time, I ceased. Father had many important meals at this table, but I was never invited to those. When I next saw Albrecht, he was standing in the lobby beside my
Can I
bag.
help you, my lady?
Albrecht, your letter didn't mention how my father died. A sharp look from him then. He must not have wanted the question, but surely he expected it. Forgive me, my lady, but I must confess I am embarrassed to tell you. He was found dead in a bush, the smell of alcohol strong of him. The herbalist, Halen, performed the autopsy and said it was failure of the heart brought on by an overindulgence in liquor. The herbalist? Did this city have no doctors? I should find and question this man soon. Meanwhile, I needed to search my house for more evidence of my father's drinking habits. Why the herbalist? Why not a surgeon? I'm afraid I do not know why. He is a learned man, I suppose. Drunk? In a bush? Yes. Some broken bottles were found scattered around him, with the funeral. I have not had time to tidy the area should you wish to look. It's around the back of the house. Who found him? The groundskeeper found him as he began his morning chores. Anticipating my next question, Albrecht cut me off. Nikos is not here. He no longer works for the family. Why not? Perhaps a discussion best left for now, but in brief with your father's passing, the family's financial affairs are unstable. I could no longer talk. I could talk of my father's death no longer. Tell me more about this financial issue. Miss, I cannot say much about it as I am still not clear on it myself. Your father, it seems, had managed to run down his finances. While alive, he was keeping things going, though just enough to mask it from me. When things settle more, and with your permission, I will begin to go through the finances in his office to make sense of the situation. Perhaps I should look through these documents in my father's office as well. I have not seen the rest of the house staff since arriving home, Albrecht. Ah, yes, they have been temporarily let go, I'm afraid. In brief, your father's passing has left the family's finances under pressure. A conversation for once you are settled in, I think, Miss Sandy. What news of the funeral plans? He paused a moment. It has already happened, my lady. He was cremated and entombed yesterday. We did not receive word of your arrival, so your uncle hastened the event as your mother's health has been understandably poor since his passing. I had hoped to allow you more time to rest after your trip before telling you. I was shocked at this, and I'm sure that Albrecht noticed. An uncharacteristic softness came after him then. It was a suitable fare, I assure you. Tell me more of the funeral, Albrecht. His weight shifted. It was as you would expect, a grand event with a soldier's guard. Your uncle spoke, then the cremation. Once the ashes were gathered, they were marched through town. The crypts were packed and his remains were placed in the family vault. If the ghoul chased it out or any indication, his ghost would have a suitable fight should God see fit to charge him so. A hint of pride showed across his face then, the most honourable burial possible. Your uncle has commissioned a statue for the town centre. Nasatia Marston has been hired for the task, and at no small cost. The name meant nothing to me, but Albrecht seemed to feel her work was befitting my father's memory. Why was the funeral so soon after his death? Surely they could have waited another day for me to arrive. There was no word that you would arrive, and your uncle was worried that the shroud would try to take the body. The shroud? I had thought that all worshippers of the Lich would have been taken care of by now, but clearly that was not the case. Given your father's part in the war, his corpse would have made for a valuable trophy. I'm surprised that the members haven't been chased down by now. Your uncle has tried. but they are hard to find. They do not advertise themselves, you understand. Then, what makes him so sure there are any left? There are many mortals who fought on the Lich's side in the war. Not all were found. Your uncle believes that those who survived are out there, waiting. Do they have the ability to raise the dead? I thought that was lost with the Lich. It is hoped so. The presumption is that they are waiting, hoping for a new Death Lord to rise. Taking the body would be more a gesture of resistance. Why would anyone living pledge themselves to an undead sorcerer? It is hard to say. For some, this life isn't enough, I suppose. They want for more time, or maybe they just want to see others suffer, but I speculate. I had nothing else left to ask about the shroud. Why is there half a suit of armour on display? Ah, we're in the midst of selling some pieces. In brief, Okay. Where are the paintings off the walls? Okay. Same thing. When did we get that black cat? A new arrival since I was last home? Oh, that annoying creature. It turned up only recently and started pestering us. I would have driven the beast away, but your mother insisted on feeding it. Okay. I travelled all this way and they had already had the funeral. My mother looked to be waking from a rest. As I approached, she raised her hand to block the light as she looked at me.
My baby girl, come and sit on Mother's knee.
Mother, I am not a child. I've been too big to sit upon your knee for a long time. She looked confused and took me in one stall.
Oh, yes. A grown woman. I remember. Your father will be so proud to see the fine adult you've grown into.
I came home for Father's burial, but I'm told it happened already.
Has it? Oh, yes, I think it might have. I recall... No, that was a dream, I think. I'm sorry. I don't know.
When did we get that black cat? Cat? Oh, yes, I don't remember. I feed it sometimes. It seems to like it here. I decided it was best to leave it to rest. Okay. So before anything else, I need to talk to Albright and my mother and learn what I can about my father's death. I thought I did that already. Okay, I should find Halen the herbalist and ask him why he did the autopsy on my father. My father apparently died from drinking too much whiskey, yet I've never seen whiskey in the house. I need to search for clues. One of my favourite places in this house. Many was the night when Albright would bring me here to fix me a late snack once mother and father had gone to bed. Okay, I can cook things. My father's drink rack, bottles of wine. This was clearly a trapdoor, heavy-looking, reinforced with metal braces and with no obvious locking mechanism. I could not see any way to open it. Perhaps Albright might know something. A dusty storeroom where my father kept mementos of his adventuring days. This was another room I had been forbidden to enter as a child. An old party dress of my mother's. I remember her wearing this at a big event in honor of Zelig when I was quite small. Observations of the ancient Egyptian mummification processes. Date 1725. Author A. Schmidt. Yay. History stuff. Abstract. This treatise delves into the enigmatic practices of ancient Egyptian mummification, shedding light on their remarkable preservation methods. By examining historical sources, I have gained insights into how wood alcohol played a key role in preserving the deceased, ensuring their journey to the afterlife. The significance of mummification. Ancient Egyptians considered mummification vital for the deceased's successful transition to the afterlife. Preserving the body was crucial, as it served as a vessel for the soul's journeying beyond death. This belief gave rise to meticulous preservation procedures. The mummification process. The mummification process encompassed several phases, with wood alcohol playing a pivotal role. Cleansing. To begin, the body underwent cleansing by immersion in a solution containing natron, a natural salt, and wood alcohol. This solution removed internal moisture and served as an antiseptic to inhibit decomposition. Evisceration. Organs such as the liver, lungs, stomach, and intestines were carefully removed and preserved separately in canopic jars. Each organ represented protection by a specific deity. Drying. After evisceration, the body underwent an extended drying process. Natron and wood alcohol were once again applied, both internally and externally, facilitating desiccation. The body often remained in a dedicated drying chamber for several weeks. Anointing. Once fully dried, the body received anointing with aromatic oils and resins. This step restored suppleness to the skin and imparted a pleasant fragrance to the mummy. Wrapping. The final stage involved wrapping the mummy in layers of linen bandages. This process could be intricate, with the inclusion of amulets and charms between layers, providing additional protection for the afterlife. Ritual and prayers. Throughout the mummification process, priests and attendants recycled prayers and incantations, invoking the blessings of the gods to ensure the successful preservation of the deceased. These rituals were believed to safeguard the soul's journey to the afterlife. Scribbled hastily as a footnote. I have identified this substance, wood alcohol. It is a pure distillation of a brew made from wood and water. It can be made in a standard alcohol still. The Englishman Sir Robert Boyle is the first in modern times to have produced it in a pure form. I believe this to be the key to the rejuvenate ritual, through which the wounds of the animated undead may be magically reversed.
Can I help you, my lady?
I saw my mother. She seems worse than normal. The old man inhaled deeply and sighed. Yes, she's been declining rapidly since your father passed. Not sleeping. Confusion. Losing sense of where she is. I'm hoping your return will anger her some. I'm sure that in a few days, when the pain lessens, she will sleep better. Properly. Normally. Until then, she wanders a little lost, and I can help her get sleep when she can. Yes, I'm sure she'll be fine in time, Miss Sandy, I'm sure of it. Has a doctor seen her? No, but there is nothing a doctor can do for her bar lock her away in a madhouse. I won't allow that, Sandy. Sorry, Miss Sandy. Do you know anything about the trapdoor in the floor of our storeroom? Yes, my lady. The old wine cellar is below there. He paused for a moment before continuing. Zelig had it bolted down after some creatures fought their way in through an old tunnel. Creatures? Indeed. I only got a brief glimpse myself. They were horrid, cowering things with cruel fangs and claws. Your father and uncle drove them off easily enough, and I dispatched several in the process. Do you know how it can be opened? Would that be wise? Besides, I do not know, sorry. Start here and just kind of make my way back. My old room. It was strange being back. I felt the same every time I returned home, though it hadn't really been my home since I was sent away, 14 years prior. Just a place I came to see my family. Now, just a place to visit my mother. Okay, so that would advance time if I needed to. There is a creepy doll in the corner. Ooh, but chest. Hello. Give me all of the stuff. There's so many books to read. If Father wasn't in his office, he'd often be here. I used to wait for him to leave so I could look at whatever he'd just been reading. On the Conquest of Liches. Okay. On the Conquest of Liches, date 1729, author Cecil van Schuler. While liches are by no means a new concept, until recently they could easily be dismissed as fanciful speculation or archaic myth. The recent war in Ralston, however, has forced us to jettison these false comforts. For the first time in contemporary history, a lich operated in the open and it became impossible to disregard their existence. The Church has historically been reticent to encourage studies in this field, fearing that such pursuits may only bolster the heretical arts in question. But it is this author's assertion that if we wish to challenge such threats in the future, we must endeavour to understand their nature. Many reports describe liches as non-living entities with the ability to create thralls out of the dead. However, unlike undead creatures in folklore, the lich seems to retain full sentience. It does not act instinctively, but, if the accounts from Ralston are to be believed, instead operates with intention, intelligence, and even malice. This allows a lich to field armies and engage in broad military campaigns. Alarmingly, a lich cannot be killed by conventional means and requires some form of extra-natural intervention. The threat posed by such a creature is apparent and immense. For this reason, we must secure sensible countermeasures should another such being arise in the near future. The Van Alstricks, for all their heroism, have been disinclined to share the specifics of their triumph over the lich in Ralston, and we must therefore turn to historical accounts of what limited contemporary sources exist. Unfortunately, few, if any, of these scattered sources provide insight into the vulnerabilities of the lich. We must then consider the less refined folk histories of the rural peasant population. Various tales allude to creatures with characteristics similar to the lich. Both the Russian Koshi myths and the Bas Salik stories of the southern Balkans involve entities that cannot be killed by bullet or blade, though the exact nature of their defeat remains variable. Could these tales have been inspired by liches? Is there something to be gleaned in them about the nature and vulnerability of these seemingly deathless beings? It would behoove us to study these tales and pry out some commonalities that could inform our future defence. Folk tales are, by their nature, malleable in concrete things, but if we apply a scientific approach to their study, it is this author's belief that we will find many details that persist across iterations. The source of our salvation might very well live within these particulars. On the safe procurement of Devil's Wood. On the safe procurement of Devil's Wood, date 1726, Cecil von Schuler. As men of science, it is imperative that we strive to understand the world around us, even those quantities which might at first glance seem spurious or supernatural. For, as any true naturalist knows, our lack of understanding does not mean a lack of logic. We must simply unfurl the tangle of knowledge that lies before us. I believe my very own inquiries into the phenomenon colloquially referred to as Devil's Wood, can provide an illustrative example of proper scientific inquiry. I first heard of Devil's Wood from a porter of mine who had only recently arrived in the city and still carried the burdens of provincial ignorance. I ignored most of his superstitions outright, but there was something in the specificity with which he described Devil's Wood that piqued my interest. According to him, it was a tree that grew only in the darkest recesses of the forest, not unlike certain rare fungi, and its bark carried particular medicinal and alchemical properties. Despite its value, shavings from the tree were always in low supply. During the day, the tree evidently resembled nothing more than a large and gnarled oak. It was only at night that the plant transformed into something more novel, contorting its limbs and branches into strange, writhing patterns that my simple-minded porter described as tortured souls yearning to escape. I, of course, understood these to be natural processes, perhaps some strange reaction to the dark. I resolved to study this particular tree, but my porter advised against it. Few men here return from such a hunt as that, he warned me, in that plain language common to mountain folk. It seemed that there were myriad perils involved in scraping back from the Devil's Wood, and that many men died in the pursuit. The Devil's Wood, he claimed, was a beacon to all manner of ghouls which congregated around it in the night. I was sure there was a rational explanation, but I was no fool. Discovery is fraught with risk. I salute the intrepid explorers who journey into uncharted lands and contend with unknown quantities in their pursuit of enlightenment, but I chastise those who would undertake these risks when they are unnecessary, simply for the sake of adventure or individual renown. The scientific mind is too valuable a commodity to chance haphazardly. For this reason, when we are presented with a challenge, it is our utmost duty to mitigate the risks involved and, where possible, use proxies of lesser scientific import. What is the loss of one or two laymen in the pursuit of knowledge that might help hundreds? The porter, of course, refused to undertake the task himself, so I hired 2 woodsmen to enter the forest at night and locate one of these fabled trees. Neither returned. I then sent another 2 men, instructing them to mark the tree and the earth around it with red paint. When they also failed to return, I sent a farm boy into the forest at day. He located the marked trees and stripped their bark in the safety of the afternoon sun, but sadly, the wood proved useless. It exhibited no unique properties and remained inert throughout all my various experiments. The porter told me this was because the bark had to be harvested at night when the souls bubbled to the surface and turned the tree black. I sighed, knowing that these country superstitions always grow more elaborate when confronted with the cold truth of science. Still, I sent 3 men into the forest and told them to fortify themselves around the tree before nightfall. In the morning, only one returned, bloodied and ranting. In one hand, he clutched a satchel of dark, contorted bark, and in the other, a small sapling that he assured me was Devil's Wood. He raved about strange beasts and curious lights, and I wondered if the tree also produced hallucinogenic qualities. I paid the man a bonus for his find, and gave the other men's widows an adequate recompense for their lost breadwinners. The tree now sits in my upper study, and indeed, at night, the sapling turns dark and contorts in strange, mesmerizing patterns. It has caused an agitation amongst the neighborhood dogs, and its bark does exhibit novel properties when mixed with other agents, but the sapling refuses to grow. Of course, the porter tells me that it needs strange feed, which is not so easy to find. Corpse feed, he calls it. Thankfully, the supply of desperate men in need of coin is always plentiful. The Caged Creature of Kavasa. The Caged Creature of Kavasa. Date unknown. Author Rocco Di Zorzi. How I wish I had never accepted Lady Isabella Kavasa's invitation. How I wish I could return to the innocence of my former ignorance. But now I have seen too much. The fool that I am, I took her interest in the Doge's salon to be flirtation. All the time I saw only a beautiful, powerful, alluring woman, unaware of the twisted thing lurking beneath that civilized surface. Lured by lust and longing, I entered her estate and mistook the passion in her gaze for the lurid sort. But she did not lead me to her chambers as I had hoped, or to the balcony to converse. No, what she wished to show me was hidden, deep in the dark. Far below the elegant Kavasas estate is a maze of stone and iron. At the very end of that maze was the prize she was so eager to share with me. The thing shuffled its bare feet against the stone, meandering aimlessly in the dark, but as we grew near, it suddenly paused, like a cornered rat working up the courage to strike. Isabella brought the torch close, and I saw an abomination. It was in the shape of a man, yet twisted, long, jagged claws and teeth dripping with rotten juices, hunched with pallid grey skin and cruel, cold, inhuman eyes. It flinched from the light, more at home in the dark. Thinking it only a sorry wretch, I took a curious step forward It was then it leapt at me, a long arm reaching between the bars of its cell. The only reason my guts were not spilled across the floor in that moment was that the lady grabbed me by the collar and hauled me back. Ghoul, she called it. She told me that these ghouls skulk about graveyards, caves, and on occasion basements, as she looked adoringly at the freak, like a prized puppy. She told me how fond they are of stealing shiny things. She told me of the many and curious diseases they carry on tooth and claw, and how quick and ferocious they become by night. Then she told me of the dead, of the corpses, both fresh and rotten, that the ghoul craves, that they consume to sustain their unnatural existence as pitiable scavengers, of how they seem to be at once alive and dead, inhabiting a terrible gulf between the two I had never known existed before that moment, of how she had lost 3 men, placing an iron collar upon this one, of how she'd fed it their corpses and watched it as it dug into their skin, their muscle, their fat, and even cracked open their bones to suck out the soft marrow inside. When she turned to me at the end, I could see no difference between her eyes and the creature's. Both shone with a hunger as dark as it was insatiable. In the shadow beneath that estate, I lost my faith. For what god would allow not just one such monster in his world, but 2? Our doorbell rang loudly. Hearing Albert's hushed tone speaking with the visitor, I made my way to the hall to see who it was. It was my childhood friend Sophia.
You're back? This is delightful news. It must have been 5 years since we last met. Why, we were only a pair of girls back then.
Her grinning face fell serious then.
I heard of your father's passing. Terrible thing, but it won't overshadow my joy at seeing you.
Tell me what you have been up to since I was away.
Oh, this and that. I never really settled on anything, being honest.
What about acting? You were good at that. Sophia twirled around and waved her hands in the air.
All the world's a stage, and the men and women merely players. Well, yes, I fear my stage career started and ended in my school days. The pinnacle was when I understudied as Hermia in a production of A Midsummer Night's Dream that ran in the northern provinces 2 summers ago. We even performed for Queen Oka. Well, at least my troupe did. I didn't tread the stage in many performances, I'm afraid.
She smiled ruefully.
I probably spend too much time in garnets these days.
We will talk again later. I'll just tag along with you for a bit and help you sort things out before you head into the city. Okay, so Sophia, I was reading before you rudely interrupted, so... The Greek Tale of Arachne, date unknown, author unknown. In the ancient city of Colophon, there lived a gifted weaver named Arachne. Her skill with the loom was unparalleled, and her intricate tapestries told stories of wonder and beauty that captured the heart of all who beheld them. Arachne's fame spread far and wide, drawing both admiration and envy. Becoming boastful, Arachne declared that her weaving skills were superior even to those of the goddess Athena, patron of crafts and weaving. Full of pride, Athena appealed before Arachne in disguise and warned her to show respect to the gods, but Arachne remained defiant. Athena revealed her true form, and a contest was set. Both Athena and Arachne wove their finest tapestries, and then their work was revealed. It was clear that Arachne's creation was a masterpiece of skill and creativity, surpassing even Athena's work. However, Arachne's subject matter mocked the gods in a most disrespectful way. Enraged by Arachne's audacity, Athena tore apart the tapestry and struck Arachne on the forehead with her shuttle. Overwhelmed by shame and despair, Arachne could not bear the weight of her humiliation. She took her own life by hanging. Athena was moved by the tragic fate of this talented mortal. With a mixture of pity and remorse, she transformed Arachne into a giant spider that she might continue weaving but in a different form. And so, Arachne lived on as a spider, forever spinning intricate and magical rainbow-hued webs, at once a reminder of her once great skill and of the consequences of mortals challenging the gods. A note was tucked into the book. Selig, this is the book I referred to in our recent discussion. I am reminded of the coloured webs that have been reported in the canyon beyond the southern gate. The key to the plague ritual may lie there within, perhaps. A.S. 1724 December. Memoirs while studying in the ancient cultures of the Adriatic, date 1652. Author Roberta van Orp's Royal Antiquarian to Edda I. My studies of the ancient material cultures of Ralston took a strange turn last winter. Even as my queen's health has failed, her lust for knowledge of all kinds has risen, and she beseeched me to study what I could of the stone circles near Marnes. I was delighted to be stationed in this fine city over the winter. Its pleasant climate was matched only by its most hospitable townsfolk. I enjoyed several evenings in the local drinking houses, talking to whomever would engage with me about the storerooms, their whereabouts, their history, and whatever else I could glean about them. A number of alignments of standing stones are known in the region, but none more famous than the circle in the forest not far northwest of the main city gate. My friends of Marnes spoke of buried artefacts there, bronze weapons, bracelets and pendants of amber, and numerous pottery urns filled with ash and mud. Some also whispered about some kind of ancient evil that lingered there amongst the stones. Accompanied by a local farmer, Mr. Pavlovic, and with my retainer to defend me from wolves, we visited the site on a crisp December morning. I dug amongst the stones, finding at first only small shards of pottery, but then, as I dug at the base of the central dolmen, a creeping fear began to descend on us all. A chill green fog rolled in from the sea, and I must admit that I did not complain too hard when Mr. Pavlovic insisted that we flee. That evening we recounted our adventure over mugs of ale, and some local men insisted that we seek spiritual assistance before we returned to the site. Forthwith, I visited the head priest, a Venetian cleric named Father Francesco Castelli, at the newly established and very fine cathedral at the centre of Marnes. This good man agreed to accompany us to bless the site, that we might continue our work unmolested. On our second and final visit, we had scarcely begun to excavate before a howling wind whipped us up and tore at us. Father Francesco brought out his holy water and commenced his spiritual work. A presence moved amongst us. It shrieked and gibbered and tossed the very earth all about. The brave man remained, even as the rest of us withdrew. Eventually, he too ran, driven away screaming as a lunatic. It was a week before the poor soul could even speak again. My parents' bedroom. Even now it felt like a violation to be here. Two portraits of my mother. I recalled the more recent one being painted when I was last home. The one of her as a younger woman must have been commissioned right around the time I was born, and it had always hung here. Even in the older painting I could now see a hint of something in her face. Despair, perhaps, which I had never noticed before. My father's study, where he spent most of his time. A portrait of Aldous Smith. I had a vague memory of the man from my youth, a general alongside my father and uncle, a close friend of theirs. It marked his death as 1726, during the Lich War. Diary of a Barkeep. Date 1650s approximately. Author unknown barkeep in Aachen. July 6th. Still can't get any suckers to drink some of that Bamberg swill. If I see that traitor again, I'm going to make him chew on my boot until he admits it tastes better. If he loses a few teeth, I'll just add them to the jar behind the bar. July 10. This new Duke is going to be the death of me. The only time our drinks have made anyone sick is when they drink too much of them. But my supplier, the same one my dad used his entire life, I should add, says the Duke is shutting them down next month for the sake of public health. Absolute madness. Did hear a funny story last night, though. Conrad had a wild story about how some deformed beast jumped on his back and attacked him while staggering his drunk self home. Claims it stole his jacket and all his coins in the process. It did earn him a few pity drinks, so I guess it worked. July 12. Apparently Conrad's pity drinks were more envied than I thought. Now Lauren's claims that the same beast jumped him and sped off with his coin. I didn't think I'd find a story less believable the second time. I bet their wives are even less amused than me though. July 20. Haven't seen Michelle in a few nights. Lorenz said he hasn't been to work either. They've run off on some fool errand across the county more than once. But usually they let us know first. My brother is coming over from Cologne for a few days. He offered to help me with my books. They'd been such a mess since Peter died. July 21st. I keep trying to write, but my hand keeps trembling. My brother decided he had to see the cathedral in the middle of the night. Came back after just an hour white as snow, with a massive bite out of his shoulder. Couldn't talk until the next day. Finally said it was some massive beast, like a deformed calf, all twisted and wrong with horrible fangs. It jumped on his back and forced him to carry it around before it attacked. Is this why Michelle is still missing? Did Conrad and the others really see this thing? July 25. I'm closing up early tonight. My brother and I borrowed some pikes from a friend and we're going to find this beast. There's been at least 2 new attacks every night. The boys started calling it a buck or whatever it is when we find it. I'm going to mount its head above the bar and burn the rest so that it can go back to hell where it belongs. There were no further entries, but there was a folded note tucked inside. Dearest Selig, I found this curious diary in a bar I recently acquired in Aachen. Given some of our prior conversations, I suspected you might at least get some amusement out of it. Warner would love it if you came out to visit again soon. Yours always, E. Amidst all the books in these shelves, the old volume titled Seances for the Living caught my eye. I took it in case it could be of use. It looked like there was something up there. I could probably reach it with a stretch. A copy of the play Macbeth. Inside was an unaddressed letter my father had clearly intended to send, but now never would. Oman, you owe me a debt and I intend to collect it a week hence. I warn you neither to disappoint me nor shortchange me. The result of either would be most unpleasant for you. ZVE. After reading it, I put it in my bag. A globe of the world. It even had the Americas on it. I was peppered with tiny red and black flags. I couldn't help but be curious as to what they meant, but there was no sign of a key anywhere. My father wouldn't need it any longer, so I decided to strap the family blade, my blade, now to my waist. My father's armour. It had been gathering dust here since the Lich War. It was an impressive collection of books with a wide range of titles. Diplomat, most of it was lost on me. But I noticed Machiavelli's The Prince in the midst of it all. My father's desk, a pile of maps and writings scattered across it. It seemed he was as messy in later life as I recalled from my childhood. I examined the papers. It was a scattering of personal and academic papers. My father was not, to my memory, a particularly learned man, so I was surprised to see writings from Zoismus D and Paracelsus. I could make out no discernible pattern in what my father had been researching. I looked at the maps. Up-to-date charts of the known world and sketchings of the local areas with various nearby tombs marked out, probably the sorts of things one considered for tactical planning. I searched for details on matters financial. After Albrecht mentioned the family affairs, I ignored the other text and focused on a ledger showing my father's expenses. Things were bleaker than I expected, and I could understand why Albrecht decided to cut back on the staff. With my father alive, he could have held things together, certainly, but what was a butler and my mother going to do with that loss of income? Where had all the money gone? The ledger showed it bleeding out, but to where? Perhaps in those books he had been looking for a way to turn lead to gold? There were also some letters on the desk of note. The one demanding payment or else stood out. I was shocked to see my father was in debt to some shady sort, but given his finances, I understood at least. What does it say, Sandy? Serious money problems, I fear, and some kind of moneylender is involved. Oh my. I left it there as messy as I found it. In truth, I may have actually left it tidier. The drawer was locked. I needed to find the key. Okay. My mother was looking out to sea. She made no sign of hearing me approach, but she must, because I knew she spoke.
His ship should be back any day now. Why must he stay away for so long?
Who? Father?
Any day now. Any day.
She wasn't responding, so I left her to stare out for hope of salvation. A mess of whiskey bottles lay scattered on the ground beneath a battered bush. So this was where my father was found. Okay. I didn't recall my father being a whiskey drinker. Then I spotted a small key, half buried in dirt. It must have fallen from my father's pocket when he was here. I put it in my bag. Oh, I think that is the key that I need for that drawer. Okay, key. Bottle of port. Even his private stash didn't have whiskey. Surely he would have had some whiskey in the house if he was so fond of it. But everything was wine. Something didn't add up. No whiskey to be found. Was he really a whiskey drinker at all? I had been home for a long time before this. What I had learnt on my return made me wonder if things had changed a lot in that time, or if I had been too young to form a realistic picture of my family. My mother was ill, very ill. I remember her being absent as a child, not distant. She had been a loving mother, just one who was different. Only now I could see she had been dealing with something significant. Father had been in his precarious place leading up to his death, which itself raised suspicions in me. I resolved to stay in Marnes for a time to assist my mother, not wishing to be further drain on the family. I would go into the city and look for work. All the while, I would seek answers about my father's death. Something was not adding up, and I wanted to know what. It was time to go into the city. Yeah, let's take everything. From around the corner, a familiar face appeared.
It is you! Oh, I saw the carriage pull up and hoped.
Daedric, my childhood friends. His demeanour was as cheerful as ever and as oblivious, considering the circumstance.
You have become quite beautiful.
He stopped short and blushed, then looked down at his feet before continuing.
It is good to see you. How are you?
After a moment, the penny dropped.
Well, yes, of course. The funeral. Terrible thing. I was at it. Shame you weren't. You would have liked...
He trailed off as he heard himself, rubbed the back of his head and stared through it thoughtfully at the grounds. Sophia chuckled loudly.
Well, yes.
Daedric, you old fool, you haven't changed a bit. He laughed and the tension was cut.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here I am years after seeing you and I'm no different. Foot and mouth, first opportunity.
Not like you. You're a woman of the world now. A diplomat, I'm told. Yes, I'm looking for short-term work now here now though.
Well, there are plenty of offerings about the place. I'm sure you'll find something. Look, meet me for a drink in Garnett's Tavern later, and we'll have a right proper catch-up.
I look forward to it. Where is Garnett's Tavern?
Yeah, sorry. You won't know it yet. She only bought it last year. It's the tavern on the other side of the river. Cross the bridge at the marketplace. Here, I'll mark it on your map.
Do you have any ideas where I might find employment?
Try the docks maybe? Or, try over at the academy. There's a school there and I think there are teachers short.
He scratched his head thoughtfully.
Oh, yes. I saw a sign outside Garnett's this morning. Take a look at that. It might be a job advert. Someone such as you who specialises in fancy talk might even enjoy working in such a place. Here, I'll mark 'em all on your map.
It was lovely to meet you again, Diedrich. I'll take my leave for now. See you again this evening. My friend bowed as I turned away. I'll be off now too, Sandy. I'll be at Garnet's too, sooner rather than later. Okay. So that's Garnet's. Okay, that's my home, that's Garnet's. Told to check the academy. There are teachers short, and that seems like... Oh, maybe not. Okay. I should find Halen the herbalist, Nikos the ex-gardener. Okay, seek work. So Halen the herbalist, we need to try and find. So being a herbalist, I'm inclined to think that a herbalist, he's either going to be at the market or the hospital. Okay, here's the market.
Your cards. I will not read.
And why, pray tell, is that?
Your future is not set, and yet I see that you will seek the wood of the devil.
What can you tell me about it?
Its bark carries occult properties. Through it, men commune with their lord from beyond.
I left the woman to her ramblings.
Oh there, goodly madam. Can I interest you in some rare foods? Cheese from the kingdoms of France, perhaps? Or dried meats from the 13 colonies? Or even have some rice from the east and grains from Africa?
Let me see what you have.
Certainly. See here.
Okay. And how would I go about selling shit to you? Okay, just drag over.
Excuse me, madam. Can I interest you in spices from the Ottoman Empire?
I'm trying to find the herbalist. Do you know him? I do. He provides some of my supplies. I have not seen him for a few days, though. Where could I find him? His shop is close to here. Walk towards the north gate and you'll find it on your left. The shop with flowers and herb boxes outside. I noted the location on my map. Or perhaps at his house. It is over to the other side of the river, close to the keep and the barracks. Thank you, Ekram. I noted the location on my map. Okay. Alright, that's his shop and that's his house. Okay. Let's try his shop first. Oh, can I steal this? Hee. My lavender now. I knocked on the herbalist's door, but there was no answer. Then I saw a small note pinned to the doorframe. Closed for business. Recuperating at home, Halen. Okay, so he's at home. I knocked on the herbalist's door, but there was no answer. Just as I turned away, a weak voice came from inside. Call back tomorrow, or not at all. I have a fever. There was a sign at the front that said, if you can read this, we want to hire you. Tavern work seemed like a good way to meet people and get reintegrated here. Plus, drunken patrons might let something slip. Maybe I'll find my clues to the mystery surrounding my father here. A nobleman out for the evening with a woman half his age. They were arguing about something or other involving his wife.
Ah, there you are.
What can I get for you, Dove? I heard you're hiring.
I am. Clearly, you can read, so you passed me first test.
What other tests have you in mind?
Well, if you're serious about it.
I'm interested. She leaned in close and I would have sworn that the smell of pickles from her breath singed my nose hairs. Well, I've a cart of supplies stuck outside the east gate. Bloody thing must have run late and I missed the closing time. Think you can get the guards to let it in? Well, there's nothing to be lost from me trying, is there? I knew you had fire in you, rich girl. My name is Sandy Van Elstrick. I was wondering if perhaps you knew my father? I knew of him, if that's what you mean. Not really. I was hoping to learn if you drank here. Drank here? Not often. Look, I love this place I put together, but I'm under no illusions that it's up to the station of people like Zelig. Yes, he'd come in from time to time, and bless him, he'd remember me from the front lines of those terrible times. Maybe that's what took him here. But was he here often? No. When he was here, did he get very drunk? Much as any man. Some nights he would, others he'd not. Usually depends on what they come in seeking and if they find it or not. Did he come alone? Sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't. He'd come to play cards once in a while. If we heard of a party for someone he knew of the war, he'd come in for a bit, usually leave. Sometimes he'd stay. Who would he have come in with? I don't remember. You know how many people pass through here each day? More than I can remember for sure. Well, what did he drink? This one I do know. Wine. I know because he made me order the bloody stuff for when he'd come in. Look around. How am I supposed to shift that stuff now, eh? She tilted her head to the side and rolled her hand in a dismissive wave. My condolences and all that. It looked to me as though he was being framed, and by somebody who didn't know his drinking habits well enough to imitate them. I'd nothing else to ask. Okay. Maybe you know where Nikos is. Nikos, sure. He comes in sometimes, quiet chap, keeps to himself. Do you know where he lives? Aye, that I do. He's one of the small houses tucked away near the east gate. I'll mark it on your map. Yay! Okay, Nikos lives here. And we have to go to the east gate afterwards. Okay, Nikos. I knocked on the door. Aye, come in. I entered to find the groundskeeper fixing up a pair of boots. When he saw me, he dropped his work in a panic. Likely he did not expect a noble to walk in on him.
Oh, yes, my lady. Sorry for the mess. I wasn't expecting guests.
I am Sandy Van Elstrick. I believe you worked for my family? His demeanour stiffened.
I did.
I wanted to ask what you found in the bushes at our house.
What I found in the bushes? Your father and some bottles. I can't really recall much else. Mine's been worrying about how I'll feed my family since Hoffman let me go.
He was clearly looking for a handout, so I took out my coin purse and paid him fairly. Nikos examined the coins I provided, and seeming satisfied, he told me what he knew. That's where I found your father, as if he'd fallen in, whiskey bottle on the ground. What seemed odd to me was how tidy it all was. No broken glass, nothing else around the bush. Not wishing to paint myself poorly, but I've had my fair share of benders. Never woken up to something as tidy as that. Tidy? He stopped to look at me a moment, clearly trying to decide if he should carry on or not. I nodded to encourage him. Well, I'd have expected some vomit, or piss, I mean, if he drank himself to death. Way I understand it, people shit. I waved at him to stop. He had a fair point, but I didn't need the picture he was painting. Did you notice anything strange about my father's final days? Afraid not. I didn't see him much. He'd come to the garden the odd time, praise me on my work, ask about my family, all that stuff, but not often enough that I'd have spotted anything out of place in his final days. Sorry. I had nothing else to ask him. Okay, so... investigate the missing card at the east gate. As I neared, the guard stood to attention and saluted.
Hey, lady.
I'm here about the tavern's cart. Can you let it through? Look, for beer, I'll open the gate readily, but the damn thing's wheel is broken. Unless you got a crew of people here to wheel those barrels to the pub, I'm not opening, sorry.
I'm afraid not. The Baron declared the city closed for Lord Zelig's funeral, to symbolize the city's mourning. We only let you in because, well, it's you.
And the cart driver?
I'd have bloody well made it if you lot hadn't moved things forward.
Yes, well, I'm afraid things did get moved up, and so...
bloody well stuck out here.
For the time being, I suppose you are. For how long is this shitty morning?
Until your uncle gives orders otherwise, I cannot say when that will happen.
Have you seen the herbalist? The herbalist? Sorry, I don't know who that is. What does he or she look like? Ah, well, that I do not know. I'm not acquainted with him myself. I'll search elsewhere for him. Okay.
And you, my lady.
Alright, so there's also like the academy and the dock that I could go. Let's try the academy. A group of children was playing outside the school. They looked more unkempt than I recalled even from my poorer classmates.
You looks just like Master Lucas.
Lucas Van Elstrick, you mean?
You know the schoolmaster? Of course she does.
The child who spoke was older than the others, a girl of perhaps 12 years. She sat back and watched the others, and they paid heed when she spoke. You know me then?
Just got me into the ground is all. Your father, he's the one that died yesterday.
He died a few days ago. The funeral was yesterday, yes.
Sorry. My father died way back before I was born.
I didn't know what to say to that. As I regarded the child, I felt something brushing my side. A short-haired boy jumped back, pulling his hand away from my pocket. I tried to grab him, but he had already dodged back too far and ducked away from me. You! Boy, what are you doing?
I wasn't doing nothing. It wasn't me. I never... Nick! Nick, stop that! I'm sorry. I'll make sure Nick tells Father Huber about this in his confession.
Who are you children?
We're just kids. Or we're school kids is all. Just waiting on a new teacher for lessons.
Orphans? The older girl scowled at her at the one who let it slip.
What of it? We're as good as any kids. You ask Master Lucas.
I don't need to, I can tell just from talking to you bright children, one and all. She seemed pleased with herself, and a palpable wave of contentedness washed across the gathered children. What's this talk of a new teacher?
Old one quit. Father love and run away to do kisses forever.
Oh, the crowd started giggling then and making kissing noises. I thought it was time to start asking about something else. Fetch the schoolmaster for me, won't you?
We'd love to, but we're so hungry. We don't get much to eat. Only what the school can spare, and that ain't much. If we had some food, that'd give us the energy to fetch the schoolmaster. Surely it would.
Yes, I have food for you. Take it, then fetch the schoolmaster for me. Robin took the plate of food and shared it amongst the children there. Then she looked at me a moment, sizing me up, I'd wager, before running indoors.
Cousin, I am delighted to see you, though I only wish it were under better circumstances.
It was strange to see my cousin after so much time, doubly so to see him working as schoolmaster. I'd gathered from my correspondences while away that he had not followed his father into politics or the military, but I had not expected this.
So, what can I do for you, dear cousin?
You were the schoolmaster?
Yes, can you believe it? It was about as far as I could get from father without actually running away.
I'm happy for you. I am too. Most of the time, sometimes this lot proves too much for me, and I rethink my choices though. It was said cheerfully, with a friendly head shake towards the children's direction. They responded with childish rebellion, a stuck-out tongue here, and a nonsensical whooping here. I could tell that they liked him, and he them. I hear you're planning to take on a new teacher here.
I am. It might not be up your alley, but if you're interested, I would be happy to give you a chance. Think on it, cousin, and come back to me. I could certainly use a trustworthy hand with my work here.
Let's try the teacher stuff. I hadn't received another offer yet, but I was sure other work was out there. Taking this, of course, would conclude my search for work. Okay, yes, let's take it. Really, I'm delighted. Look at us, cousins, following the same path as each other, just like our fathers did, but oh, so different path. Please call into the school in the morning and you can start your lessons. The evening was closing in on me. It was probably time to go meet Diedrich in the Garnet's Tavern.
Hello.
Ah, there you are. Come, join me for a drink. As I sat with him, He called to Garnet to bring over 2 drinks. Any luck on the work front? I found something, yes. Do tell. I took on to teach the orphans with my cousin Lucas. Noble work. I wish you well with it. That's the same building I work in, so if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. So, tell me how you landed the job. Well, haha, I can't believe you did that. When her father found out, he chased Flip out of town. Poor chap had to stay the work over in Mentok and stay the winter. Good old Flip, eh? So tell me how you've been. Oh, me. Eh, where to start? Well, tell me of your work. What do you do now? I took up work in the new academy. New to you, anyway. It's where you'll be now, too. It's part library, part research hall, and part school. Closest thing to a university in Elstrick. It's nothing fancy. I mostly just help keep it organised. Put books back in their place, that sort of thing. Sometimes the research will need help with a thing, some obscure piece, and I help the master over there find it. Like I say, nothing fancy. Keeps me busy, pays well, and I can read all I want. Oh, Sandy, you should see the books. There are so many. And so many hero books. Oh, even talking about it excites me. And when he dropped, there was an almighty crack. We all thought his neck must have been torn clean off, but then another crunch and the crossbeam tore from the gallows main, and he fell to the floor. Father Olawere declared it an act of God, so your uncle revoked the death sentence and sold him to a privateer in the Queen's employ to work off his debt. They set sail within the week. Nobody's heard of him since. The gallows just snapped? Termites. Folk reckon the privateer set them on it days before to get the indentures. Tales have come back of him doing the same over in Venice too. At the thought of Venice, Diedrich spat. I followed the procession to the edge of town, got up to the front, right by the shield wall, saw them chase the ghoulie out and all that. I bribed Mortian with a bottle of snaps to let me drink on the wall that night. Drank a bottle of the stuff myself as I watched the little grey buggers slink back into the crypts. How was my mother in all of this? She was, lost. I did not see her in a while, true, but she didn't recognise me. She walked in with the Baron on one side, Mr. Hoffman on the other, guiding her as much as anything else. I don't think she cried, but honestly, I didn't feel like she knew what was happening around her. I read a book about grief that said folk deal with it in all sorts of ways. This was one of them, I guess. That beer is going right through me. I'll be back in a moment. I tried to sign up, only your father wouldn't allow it. He said it was because I was only 13, but I knew other boys allowed to join the effort. They needed numbers and fast. In truth, I was glad he turned me away. I doubt I'd have survived. Barely survived as it was here. He went quiet then. Do you think they're in there? I don't follow. A person. Their soul. Do you think they're still... Do you think somewhere deep down they're still inside when a dead person rises again? I had an encounter with one. I could have sworn that he recognised me. Gave me the time I needed to run. Before a guard came and he trailed off again. You know, I've been to a few places, many with different beliefs to us. Wildly different in some ways. And I think that maybe what we call heaven is knowing when you're gone, you're missed. Maybe in that knowledge you're at peace and your soul goes truly into the abyss. Hell, then would be knowing that people are glad you're gone. Or worse, they don't even know. Maybe those are the souls that stick around waiting to come back and make a mark on the world second time around. We spent the next few days bolting over graves and burning up what had already come up. You're lucky they sent you away. We both stared silently at our drinks. Look, sorry. Let me get you another drink, eh? So suddenly, I'm at dinner with Tsar's cousin Misha, and nobody else has turned up. I can see why. He's a strange individual with a colourful entourage. The other envoys had made their excuses to avoid dining here, but this was my first time meeting him, and, well, I hadn't known any better. The food was plentiful and varied, and the wine poured like water. We exchanged pleasantries and swapped tales of our centuries. He was polite and seemed interested in anything I had to say. Then, as the last course was being tidied away and port was being poured, he said, "Since it's just the two of us, would you like to see something interesting?" He called on an older lady with a covered face. She came and sat between us, and when she spoke in a language I'd never heard, yet I felt as if I understood her clearly. She took out a black lacquer box and opened it. Inside was a silken wrap, which she opened to reveal a set of cards. Oh, tarot cards. That's what I thought. And they kind of were. Divination cards of a kind, but they didn't seem to be tarot. It didn't have any major arcana that I recognised, nor wands, coins, cups or swords. Though the cards had no writing or numbers, so maybe it was the art style that threw me. It was all dark, with the images carved in blue and gold, almost like a normal image inverted. Anyway, in short, the deck was odd. I was uncomfortable looking at it as she fanned it out before and told me to pick 3. I was going to lean over and tap them, but as I looked at cards, she dropped her middle finger down on them, as if crushing a fly, and slid them forwards. The first one she revealed by flipping the right side over. It was an impossibly complex spider's web that I could follow and understand perfectly. The golden spider in the middle looked to be in control from one angle and drowning from another. The second card she slid her thumb under and turned it from left to right, as it was detailed a drawing of a brain as I have never ever seen, but separated into 4 parts, each quarter drawn and coloured differently. The final card was turned to reveal 9 skulls with daggers around their eyes in a way that worked them, like all together to form what looked like a larger skull. This card was reversed. I don't know if it was good or bad. Unlike any reading I've heard of, she made no effort to explain or interpret it. We all just sat there a while, looking at the 3 cards. After a while, presumably when she had thought I had enough time to figure it all out, she nodded at Misha and myself, wrapped the cards up and left. Thankfully, I feel confident I know what it was all about. Misha didn't speak to me after she left. He just stared where the cards had been. I meekly excused myself and went to bed, though I did not sleep that night. I don't really know why. Go on then, tell us another one. Yes, stories of your travels are so exotic. And odd, mate. They're bloody odd. It's been good catching up. Let's do this again soon. Yes, of course. Oh, Sandy, it's so good to have you home. It was late. Time for me to head home and sleep off those drinks. As I approached the door, I could hear raised voices from inside. Please, Juliana, you must take it. The potion helps, you know this. No, I don't know you. I don't know you. I entered to see my mother in distress, condolence cards scattered around her. The dying fire glistened off the tears of her face as she screamed at Albert. He was beside her, a worried look on his face, holding a bottle out, offering it to her. You're not Zelig. Where's my husband? Zelig! Zelig! Juliana, Zelig is dead. The funeral was yesterday, don't you remember? Liar! Get out of my house! Zelig! I decided to help him. Mother, it's me. Sandy, is that you? When did you get home? Get this man out of our house. Albrecht, he's our steward. He's been with the family since before Father was born. You know him. What he says is true. Father is dead. I returned home for the funeral. We spoke earlier. You don't remember? We did? Maybe I do know this man. Albrecht, you look older. He smiled softly. I realised that perhaps this was a dance they'd done many times before. I think the same thing each time I look in the mirror, Juliana. Come, drink this. Zelig made it for you, remember? She nodded sheepishly and took the bottle. As soon as she drank it, her agitation washed away. There. Sleep well, Juliana. I must. She passed out almost immediately. At once, Albert set out to ensuring she was comfortable, placing a pillow behind her head and draping a blanket over her. What was that you gave her? He paused a moment before answering me. A tonic of sorts. Your father made it for her to take. It started years ago after you went off for schooling. No, wait. It was a little before you went. Your mother, well, bless her soul. She was never quite the same after you were born. Your father concocted this to help her, and it did, but she was still unable for you. Absent often, and well, I digress. It's been working less since he died. She's more lost, confused. You noticed, I assume. She seemed at odds, yes. I was putting it down to grief. Normally, a night's sleep from it clears her mind for days, weeks, sometimes even a month. But lately, it barely gets her to sleep. In truth, Zelig only left so much before passing, and I've been rationing it, watering it down some. Tomorrow she will be as absent as she was today, wondering why the parlour is unkempt, and tomorrow night another struggle to get her to take the stuff. I wish your father was here. He'd know what to do. Look at me. I'm older than him. I helped raise him, for goodness sake, and yet I look to him for wisdom, even in death. Would a larger dose work? Perhaps, but then I will run out. What then? These nights I have been tough on your mother. I daren't think of her health if she doesn't get these few hours of sleep, however induced they are. Is there any way to make more? Albrecht's body drooped moments, and as his guard fell, I could see how old he really was now. It's to my great shame that I never mastered the written word, but maybe if I showed you the recipe, the original, with his notes, you'd be able to distill a better potion than me? I can take a look, certainly. He regained his composure, and my brief window into his reality was shut. Okay, let us get some sleep. We'll meet in your father's study tomorrow morning, and I'll give you what I can. I nodded, unprepared for this entire incident. If my mother wasn't asleep on the floor before me and Albrecht, sleeves rolled up, wasn't tidying the mess around her, I'd have sworn the beer had been bad and caused me to hallucinate. As I left them and prepared for sleep, I could feel my hangover creeping up on me already. I was awoken by voices. My mother, clearer now than she had been at any time since my return. But for how long?
Not long. A few days, a week at most.
Okay, I can wait that long. The other voice replied, but I couldn't hear what they said. So what do you need me to do? Again, the other voice was indecipherable from here, as if it were whispering now. I could tell from the echoes that the voices came from the hall below me. Ooh, ghost. No, you can't ask
I'm
that.
afraid that nothing else will suffice.
I awoke in a cold sweat, loose memories of a dream chased away by the morning's light. Okay, starting from chapter 3, you can click on the time of day icon in the control bar to advance time between morning, afternoon, evening and night. Okay, need to meet Albrecht in my father's office, and then I need to also see the herbalist. Okay, we'll talk to Albrecht really quick. Halen can probably wait until the afternoon, because morning I need to go teach the children. As I entered my father's study, I could see that Albrecht was already there. He'd laid out a breakfast for me, though what I could stomach after so little sleep I wasn't sure.
Can I help you, my lady?
Good morning, miss. I trust you slept well. I had not. I found it hard to sleep with the image of Mother fresh in my mind. It did not help that I could hear her periodically sobbing his name. When I did sleep, it was fitful and full of unpleasant dreams. I did not feel ready for whatever Albrecht had in this day had in store for me. In truth, no, my night was difficult. Mine also. I do not sleep well when your mother doesn't, but hopefully with your help we can make her more soothing tonic to aid her rest. So the recipe, it is found in this book. He handed me a hefty tome, leather-bound and aged. I opened it to see the worn pages were filled with symbols I did not know, and writing I did not recognize the language of. I sensed mystery and evil in those pages. Albrecht turned the pages to one in particular, though I could tell he was looking for an image he recognized rather than going by word. This is it, Torpor. When he spoke the title, I realized I could make that out and some of the text that followed it, despite still not recognizing the language nor understanding the rest of the page. Torpor, for resting thine enemies, be he of mortal nature, and unburdening their minds of memories undesirable. unburdened of memories? Well, yes, to be honest. Sometimes it does render your mother somewhat forgetful, but remember, please, Sandy, that it is only something she needed to take at the very odd occasion, if your father was far away and the storms were high, or when he got delayed in the journey home. With a new batch, one I needn't water down, she will only need a day or two, and this grief she feels in some ways a mercy for her to forget, no? Take the book, Miss Sandy, and read it over. It took your father some time to get the potion right, if I recall. Of course, I can give you what little help I can. You need only ask. Okay. Okay, the library, the academy, or the library and the cathedral. So we're going to be heading to the academy anyway to teach the children. So we could possibly check the library after that. As I approached the school, I could see one of the children was waiting outside. He was looking around, agitated. Once he saw me, he ran over. Miss, Nick has gone missing. Master Lucas and Robin have gone looking for him, but they told me to ask you to help once you showed up. They're searching all over the city. Where are they looking? Don't know. Maybe ask the others? Where is Nick usually found? He goes all over, even though he's not supposed to. One time he walked me all the way to the graveyard behind the big church at the marketplace. His mummy lives under the ground there. That made him sad and didn't know why he wanted to go to a place that made him sad. Okay, so graveyard might be a place to... Tell me, what do you know of Nick? Not much, madam. He scares me sometimes. When did you see him last? Me? Yesterday. Well, one of the others said he got up early this morning and left with something rubbed up. Like a gift. Could be. Where have the others gone to look? They've gone to the barracks. Think like such soldiers come and go. Okay. So it sounds like they've gone to the barracks, so I want to check the graveyard.
Hello again.
Here to look for Nick. I'll save you the trouble. I've been here looking for him a good half hour and no sign of him. I find him, I'll put him in the hospital for making me worried. Is there any worry visits in town? Now you say it. Yes, goes to the barracks sometimes to visit his dad. Okay. Let's check the barracks. These were the main city barracks. An impressive collection of buildings, housing hundreds of soldiers. Hey! I need to talk to you. An impressive garden, probably the best I'd seen. Okay. Hi! I need to talk to you. When I finally found the herbalist, he was tending to his garden. Some herbs, yes, but it seemed to be more decorative than functional. So he saw me, he stood and stared.
You're Zedek's kid?
I am.
Well, what do you want from me then?
Do you know my father?
What? Are you asking if I know Zelig von Elstrick? One of the most famous sons of old Rolston, never mind the city of Mars? Oh, the apple has fallen pretty far from the tree, ain't it? Everyone knew you, da. Now, was I friends with him? Of course not. People like him never have time for people like me. Move in different worlds, us.
I want to ask you about my father's autopsy. He said nothing, so I carried on. Why did you perform it?
I did it because I was asked to. Simple as.
Who asked you to?
I got a letter from the head surgeon. No whys, just a request and a purse of gold.
Just a piece of work to you, then?
We're not all noble-born. Some of us have to take cash when it's offered.
What did you find?
You won't like it, but it was alcohol that done him in. Swollen liver, pale skin, signs of asphyxiation.
How long had he been dead when you performed it?
Within a day of his being found. He'd been in the hospital for a while before they decided they couldn't take him, and a while longer for them to find me. Didn't want the task, but what could I do?
You didn't want it?
Yeah, I had this feeling in my gut that I'd be cross-examined by his kids someday.
What training have you for such a task?
Not as much as I'm sure you'll have wanted. But I know herbs, which means I know poisons. There were no outer wounds, so they wanted to see if what he's drank had been just alcohol or if there was something else in it.
And?
You won't like it, but it was alcohol that done him in. Swollen liver, pale skin, signs of asphyxiation.
What state was the body when you saw it?
Stiff, decayed, liver bloated from too much drink.
Had he soiled himself? What kind of question is that? That the memory you want of your old man, him, covered in his shame? Well, I ain't sorry to tell you that he was clean. That's not right. He would have choked on vomit if it had been alcohol, and he would have likely died with a full bladder. I don't know what to tell you then. Maybe he would clean before he came to me, for his dignity's sake. Maybe someone round here cares about Zelig's legacy and dignity. Where was it performed if not the hospital?
Back of my shop. Where else? I wanted to cut into him in the Grim Chamber, but the priest wouldn't have it. Thankfully, your father stayed dead.
I stared at him in disbelief.
What? He's dead. It was a fair concern.
What state was the body in when you saw it?
Stiff, decayed, liver bloated from too much drink.
Any other wounds?
Now that you mention it, he did have a massive big spear through him that I forgot to put in my report. Christ.
When asked about the shroud, what, why? The funeral was rushed for fear of them doing something. It's unclear to me what exactly. I want to know if they're a real threat and if so, to what level. Ha! If the shroud is still around, they ain't looking for a glory run just to get snuffed out doing it. Any threat from them would be hidden, surely. Either way, I can't imagine they have the numbers to threaten a military funeral. Crap.
Hello, dear cousin.
I thank you for the help in finding the lad. Nick often runs off, but he always returns until now. I'm sure we'll find him, Lucas. The guard here might know something? The young guard stood tall and motioned me to stop.
The barracks are close to civilians.
Please, I'm looking for a young lad, an orphan. I'm told he might be around here. Round head, angry expression. That is an unflattering description of the boy, though not inaccurate. I know the one. Says he wants to be a soldier when he grows up, like his father, he says. I haven't seen the man around since the 12th Regiment took that beating from bandits a few days back. Most of them are still in the hospital recovering. Dead end, then. Perhaps not. I'll check the hospital. Perhaps the boy was around here somewhere. I thought I heard scrambling and a low whimper. Nick, is that you? I got stuck. I gave the child a hand out of the cracked wall he'd wedged himself into. I wanted to bring him a gift to help him get better fast, but they wouldn't let me in. When the guard went to the pisser, I snuck into the yard, but I didn't find... Oi! What are you doing here? Grounds are closed to focus on military needs. Get out before I have you flogged. You should get back to school, Nick. The others are worried about you. Okay, madam. Sorry for the trouble it caused. Alright. We can go back to school now? The head librarian was a tall, thin man, clearly from the Ottoman Empire. He was an older gentleman, but his gaze was still sharp. As I approached him, he watched me as an eagle eyeing prey.
An Austric child, yes? I am, of course, sorry for your loss, but I am sure you did not come here for my condolences, yes?
Where in the Empire are you from? I spent some time in the courts there.
I was born in Trabzon, on the southwestern shores of the Black Sea. Like you, a portrait. It is unsurprising. Perhaps the travel was on the cards for us both, yes?
I've heard of it, but I've not been that far, I must confess. I only made it to the Sanjak in Albania.
A nice place. I am sure you enjoyed your stay there.
I'm looking for a book on languages, old, rare ones. I would need more information, of course. What is the language? I don't know the name. You have perhaps some writing to show me? I showed him the book. I reached my hand in the tome, but my gut twisted. I felt the room close around me. A strange look came over Ibrahim's face, and it's as if he grew taller and loomed over me, a hunger in his eyes. His hands reached out, his fingers stretching out towards me. The exits were further now than when I entered, and the light outside was gone. Those doors led only to darkness. I managed to pull my hand away from the book. The room returned to normal. Ibrahim looked patiently for a response. I don't have a sample. His eyes narrowed. A challenge! What language family are you interested in? I confess I'm feeling more foolish at each question. I think what I seek is somewhat esoteric in nature. Would that narrow the search? Well now, the books you seek are restricted. I do not know you. These books are not for just anyone. Can I perhaps earn your trust? Perhaps we can arrange a trade. What had you in mind? You seek knowledge, yes? I also seek knowledge. Find me something I don't have or don't know, and perhaps we will work something else, yes? I had a little idea of what that might interest him, but I could ask Diedrich, or perhaps I could simply break in after dark. The man did not notice me as I approached. He held a book filled with drawings of nude figures poised. I coughed. Sir, I'm not interrupting anything, am I? I'm not interrupting your kinky porn time? He snapped the book shut. No, I was just... Happens to the best of us. I had a similar book at school. It's easy to get distracted. I was. You were admiring art? Yeah, that's it. Good day, sir. Maybe we'll meet again. This appeared to be a storeroom. Various curios laid about, many caked in layers of dust. Once per chapter, you should ask Lucius what work he needs doing. Okay.
Hello, dear cousin.
South of the mountains, Ralston is riven by several rivers and lakes. What's riven mean? Means to split or tear apart, usually violently, but in this case, why not just say split then, eh? The other orphans burst into giggles. Lucius' smile was patient but clearly tired. Ah, Sandy, what wonderful timing. I was teaching the children about the geography of our beautiful country, but I'm afraid I've lost their attention. Perhaps their other teacher can get it back? You lost it. Think back, cousin. Where was the last place you left it? Quick, children. Check under your desk. Maybe it's there. The children giggled, except Leland, who scowled seriously as he looked under his desk. If you have time to tease me, then you have time to help. To the south of Ralston is the mighty Adriatic Sea. How about you start your lesson there? I decided to teach properly. The Adriatic is the northernmost arm of the Mediterranean Sea, with over 1,300 islands within it. Its name predates even the Roman Empire, who called it the Mare Adriatium. How do you know how many islands there is? Count them yourself? No, not personally. Better go do it now. Lesson's over, right, headmaster? Despite her teasing, the orphan seemed interested again, evidently impressed by my expertise. Nice try, Robin. Sandy, please continue. Perhaps you have a story to share about the Adriatic. I decided to tell an impressive story. A merchant I once knew was returning to Ralston from the Levant, his ship weighed down with silk and gold, so much of it that the water almost spilled onto the deck. As they passed the mouth of the Adriatic, they were so low that they struck something in the deep. The ship began to shake like some massive creature was rubbing its thick hide against the bottom of the boat. The crew insisted they raise all sails so they might outrun it. The children were silent, completely enraptured. They raced and raced, clearly crashing into the dock when they arrived in Mayence. The crew spilled off the ship, climbing over each other to reach land first. The merchant insisted they were imagining things. But when the dock crews inspected the hull the next day, they found a handful of scales embedded in the hull, each as big as my hand. To this day, that merchant is careful not to let his ship dip too deep when entering the Adriatic, for fear of disturbing what slumbers there. The children erupted with questions immediately. Now, children, indoor voices. Please, you are still in class. Thank you for that informative lesson. I think it really sucked, Nick. What? She thinks she can just come in here and I'm supposed to like her because her dad died? Oi, Nick, that's enough. She's just some dumb rich kid with a drunk dead dad and a loony mum. He'd be better off joining him. The room got very quiet as no one seemed to know what to say. I showed empathy and tried to talk to Nick. Those are some very strong words, Nick. Why did you choose those words to describe my parents? I heard someone say it. I see. What did you think of the person when you heard it? Thought they was mean. I agree. Do you want to be a mean person, Nick? No, me neither. But when I do something mean without intending to, there's something I have to do. Do you know what that is? Say sorry? That's right. I'm sorry, Mr. Sandy. Thank you, Nick. I forgive you. Thank you, Mr. Sandy. I patted Nick's shoulder and I stood up. When I took a step back, Lucas did the same to me. Well done, Sandy. I noticed Robin glaring down at her desk. As the leader of the little troop, I thought it might be because she was used to Nick listening to her and didn't like that he hadn't. Lucas nodded at me in appreciation and then gestured for me to continue teaching for the morning. The rest of the morning passed as slowly for me as it did for the children. Still, I taught with patience and I felt that they learnt something. Librarian? Okay, so we need to find Diedrich. Any chance you know where he is?
So, what can I do for you, dear cousin?
What work needs doing? Okay, well, give me my pay then. Oh, there's Diedrich. I paged Diedrich with a smirk as he stacked books upon a shelf. Hello again, dear Diedrich. Sandy! Find anything to tickle your fancy? Or still looking? I'm seeking a book to help me read an old language for a research project. Perhaps you can help? Not really an expert on old books, Sandy. The head librarian Ibrahim should be able to help, though. It's around here somewhere. Okay. I seek access to his restricted library. He says he would facilitate me if I could trade him something of equal interest, but I do not know the man nor his interests. Perhaps you could guide me. Let me think. Oh, I know. There's a tarot reader in the market. I think she's from his homeland or something. He said back the other day that she wouldn't sell him a scroll. Not sure what it was, but if you could get that for him, he'd be happy, no doubt. Once again, my dear friend, you have come to my aid. I'll go see this woman right away. She's at the market, you say? She is. You'll know her by a tent. It's unlike any stall there. Good speed, Sandy. Okay.
Your cards. I will not read.
I did not come here for a card reading. No, you seek something I have. Yes, a scroll for the librarian. May I have it? Do you know what the scroll contains? I do not. Do you wish to? I must say I'm intrigued. It is nothing for you or I. Harmless scroll, perhaps that of a madman. But in the librarian's hands, it can unlock a danger. I felt like she would part with the scroll. I just need to find out how to get her to do so. She was a mystic, a believer in tarot and palm readings. To her, the paths are set. I just had to let her know how this was predestined. Please, you can entrust the scroll to me. I think you know that to be true. This is the way things are meant to unfold. Perhaps? I do want to get rid of this thing, and somehow I knew you were the one who would take it. I urge you not to pass it to the librarian. But if that too is destined, then it is not for me to interfere. Here. Okay, so she's actually warning me that that's dangerous. I could go into the cathedral, potentially, and see if they can help me decipher.
You're looking for Father Olivier. He's up in his study in the tower, preparing his sermon.
Okay, can I... As I approached the priest, he spread his arms wide to welcome me.
My child, word reached me that you had returned home to pay your respects for your father. Most noble.
Father Olivier was seated at the simple wooden desk hidden up in the tower's rafters. My child, how can I help you? Father, I was wondering if I could examine your personal library. I don't know, my child. Those are restricted books for church eyes only. Perhaps, Father, there is something I can do to prove my loyalty to you in the church. He looked me up and down for a moment, sizing me up, it seemed. Yes, there is. One of the parish has fallen on hard times. I hesitate to say this, but I think old Nick has gotten his talons into her. If something isn't done to drive the beast away, I fear her immortal soul will end up being dragged to hell. What a terrible predicament. What would you have me do, Father? I have a potion, a power mix of holy water and sacred herbs. I have tried to get her to drink, but the devil's hold on her is powerful indeed, and she refuses. Perhaps if you, a person not associated with the church, was to bring it to her. Yes, of course, anything I can do to help. Now, here is the potion. Bring it to Rosa Del Fara in the slums. Return to me once you've seen her drink it. Good girl. Godspeed. Okay. Okay. Sorry, the slums? Okay, there's Rosa Del Fara. From the name, I knew to expect a woman with olive skin. She was an attractive lady in her mid-20s. She looked as though she was waiting for somebody. Excuse me, are you Rosa Del Fara? I am. You're a bit old to be the apothecary's delivery girl. I hadn't expected a lucky opportunity. I decided to play alone. Hard times. I have a delivery for you. She looked at me and my hand free and refused it. This doesn't feel right. You're too finely dressed to be a delivery woman. You're correct. That's not who I am. I've been asked by the priest to get you to drink this tonic. What? Why? What is that? Who says you have been possessed by the demon and this will purge it from you? Father Constantine said that. No, it was Father Olivier. That old snake. Why are you telling me this? I've only recently returned home. Something seems off. I need some people I can trust, and honestly, whatever is happening here, I don't think anyone from the slums is involved. Well, I owe you. Possibly even my life. If there is anything I can do to repay you, please let me know. I need to go speak with my brothers. Hey, look, I just need that book, so... I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to lie. I'm going to see if I can get away with lying to the priest. Father Oliver was sitting at the simple... Okay.
My child?
Father, I have delivered the potion as you wished. And she drank it? She did. Wonderful, you have done a good deed this day, keeping Satan from our doors. I presume you wish to see the library now? Very much so, Father. Then access is yours, my child. May the Lord guide you to find what you need. Not at all, child. Okay, thank you. Study. I searched the shelves in the room for hours, finding various scriptures and writings on the Bible and the life of Christ. Every now and again, something interesting would come up. D's Enochian scripts for communicating with angels, King Solomon's lesser keys for binding demons, and even some works on how to engineer enlightenment for a fast track to becoming a bodhisattva. Then I saw it, a book with the same script as the tome. An old relic from the Zoroastrian faith. The script was called Zend, and it was going to help me cure my mother. I'd found a cipher for my father's tome. It was probably best to do this work somewhere safe. Perhaps my father's study? To decipher Torfor in your father's office, drag the cipher and spellbook into the... Okay. So... I had the book I needed to make sense of the strange old tome Albright had given me. I got to work immediately. As I studied the book, it became clear to me it was written in many inks, in many languages, on papers of varying ages. The majority of the recipe, and a few other scatterings throughout the book, was written in Zend, the language I was now equipped to slowly translate. But if I wanted to understand anything else from this book, I would need to source further ciphers. But for now, I carried on with the task at hand. I had translated everything from Zend. The recipe did not seem overly complex, though I would need to find out more about the nightshade flower. The first page of the ritual described later in the book, Seance, was also partly in Zend. I would need more work to understand its full detail though. I need to follow the instructions in the book and brew some torpor potion to help my mother sleep. The recipe involves boiling nightshade flowers in grease. I must also infuse a cloth with lavender and wear it as a face mask to protect myself from boiling the flowers. Okay, I have lavender. So, cloth. I just need to nightshade flowers. If I had to hazard a guess though, possibly the herbalist might have those.
Yes? What?
I'm looking for nightshade. Do you sell it? Nightshade. Careful now. People might think you're trying to speed up your inheritance. I just lost my father and this is what you say? Just some friendly advice is all. Do you sell any or not? I don't. Funnily enough, the rich and people who run the city outlawed it. Where would I find some? I'd heard a rumour, mind you, that some grows outside the city. Old Grintar was looking for mushrooms in the forest outside Dead Man's Gate. He said he saw some out near the old ruined chapel. Can't say for sure, but you might have luck. Okay. So out by Dead Man's Gate. Okay. The guard at Dead Man's Gate was too busy looking through the gate to see me approach.
Don't sneak up on me like that. You've added 4 years to me carrying on like that.
Are you okay?
Yes, I am, yes. I served in the Lich War and, well, the dead scare me. But we all have to take turns on the Dead Man's Gate, sadly. I never relax when stationed here.
Is the gate closed?
Yes, of course. It's always closed. Unless, it's open. I mean, sometimes we're ordered to open it, but not right now.
Well, I need to go out. Can you open it for me?
Open the gate? No, I can't do that. It's locked. Don't you know what's out there?
Nightshade. Maybe that's something I can do for you to make you feel more safe? I know I'm safer, it's just my nerves. Perhaps you could get me a drink to help with those, something to take the edge off? Here, take this bottle of port. Thank you, this should do for the trick. Here, I'll open the gate for you, just be careful out there. Okay. Passing through the Dead Man's Gate, I could see the chapel ahead, a place where our recently deceased reposed before cremation. Facing the chapel was the city's main cemetery. It was safe enough to visit here by day, but it was patrolled by ghouls at night. They came skulking out of the crypts and nearby caves to play on their unwary. I'd never travelled much further from Mance in this direction, though I knew the southern forest was quite sparse and that the landscape soon broke up into a series of gullies and canyons near the seas. As a child, I was mortally afraid of this creepy old statue, but one day my friends Flip and Sophia decorated it with garlands of spring flowers, and suddenly it lost its menace. Okay. I'd found the small rocky canyon. There should be nightshade somewhere beyond the ruined church. I resolved to return after dark since my research had specified that nightshade only blooms at night. Okay. Looked like nightshade, but the petals were shaped differently to the drawings I'd seen. This is not the plants, okay. What about this one? Stalks weren't right on this one. Collected the bloom with my bare hands and stuffed it quickly into my satchel. My hand stung and it felt as though I might vomit from the wave of nausea. Okay. But I have it. Let's... I heard an eerie shrieks from the steps of the cemetery. I could see something moving in the shadows there. It looked like I would have to fight or try to run back to the dead man's gate. Bugger. Okay. Okay, there it is. Go away, is there anything on it? Okay. I mean, I get it's suspicious, but I'm not committing any crimes. I had the potion. I'll bring it to Albright in the morning. Okay. I guess we're going to bed then. Yes. Sleep time. Okay, it's morning now. We can give this to,
Can I help you, my lady?
I have made the torpor and decanted it. We should give it to Mother and let her rest. With all due respect, we should test it first. It's your first time making it. We don't know if it's safe. You're right, of course, but how do we test it? I shall take some. Are you sure that is wise? I'm confident I made it as the recipe specified. I'll take it in my room. Perhaps check on me in a few hours, as you wish. Okay. I don't feel right trying to test that on an animal or an unsuspecting, like... If I was to test the potion myself, this would be the best place to do it. Okay. My head started swimming almost immediately, so I made my way towards bed.
I think Yes, I can see something.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I see them too.
What? Who are you?
We three have gathered on this cold and dark morn, where the veil between worlds is thin, to call you here.
Ask them who it is. Ask if it's my cousin.
I announced myself. I am Sandy Van Elstrick. You're in my home.
Interesting. I found no records of any Von Elstrick living here.
How long have you been dwelling in this place?
I'm only recently returned.
What has you trapped here in this place?
I'm not trapped here. I chose to stay. I think she's in denial. Me? You're the ghost. She hasn't understood it yet, has she? Not yet, but she will. Give her time. A wind blew through the room. Then through the doors and windows were closed. The three ghosts just stared at me. What little I could make out of their faces seemed expressionless. What was that? I felt weak in a way I had never experienced before, and sick to my stomach, and yet I felt that my mind had been opened to another reality. Still, at least I knew the potion worked, though I hoped the dream was not a common side effect. I had to find Albrecht to tell him my news. As I approached, he staggered to his feet. Albrecht, are you okay? What's happened? I don't know. I had been outside assisting your mother in the garden. I came in to get her a glass of water and saw some figures searching the place. Then I heard movement behind me. I felt a sudden pain and then darkness. The place has clearly been ransacked in the meantime. I'm sorry I do not know more, Miss Sandy. It's okay. I have the potion for Mother. I've tested it and it works. Let's get her to sleep and then we can assess this mess. Yes, of course. She seems to be sleeping soundly. You did it. That is good, but the ransacking of our house is concerning. Come, let's look at the mess those thieves left behind. With the ancient spellbook in your possession, great power beckons. At first you use the book to help your mother, but as the plot moves forward, it offers you a means to investigate your enemies, manipulate people, and raise the dead. Thank you for playing the demo. Please witness the game. Gotcha.
Dumb things on stream. So many dumb things.